Here with Matthew. How you doing today, Matthew?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you today?
Not too bad, not too bad. So you wanted to talk about the a venture you were practicing about teaching tarot cards. How did this come
Teaching
about?
people how to read tarot. hmm I'm sorry, say again?
How did this come about?
How did that come about? Okay, so let me keep this as brief as possible because I know I have a tendency to be long winded. Um, I started teaching back in 1997. I wasn't teaching tarot, I was teaching martial arts. I had started right out of college training, and within a couple years, I was not only competing in tournaments up and down the Eastern Seaboard, but I was also teaching. Got to a point where my instructor said, "Look, you're here all the time anyway. Why don't you help me teach the kids' classes and some of the beginner adults, and we'll just use that to pay for your tuition." I said, "Cool," because money was tight at the time. Um, and what I realized was that as I was training, I learned how to do some really cool stuff. But as I had to stop and slow down and teach it, that forced me to think about the same material from a different angle, and that deepened my understanding. Plus, there's this extra bonus of people would come in for martial arts lessons saying they wanted to get in shape or they wanted to learn how to fight to feel safe. And I started teaching, and did it in such a way, just kind of intuitively, that it's not just about the fighting, it's about teaching people how to feel good and and powerful in their own lives, in their own skin. And so as I figured out how to do that, I get to watch people, um, watch the light come on in their eyes, watch them, start carrying themselves differently, start obviously feeling much more empowered. So I was part of the empowerment movement, back before I knew that there was such a thing. And then time went on, and I left that and went on to teach physical fitness, and same sort of thing. I'm getting my own workouts, I'm getting my own healthy stuff in, but I'm deepening my understanding by slowing it down and breaking it down and explaining how to do it to other people. Plus, there's that ability to witness the light coming back on in people's eyes, watching them wake up to how really awesome they actually are. Um, and then I got involved with a group that teaches self-defense to trauma survivors. And same kind of thing, except this time light blown up on a nuclear level. We have people who would come in like shriveled and gray on a Friday night, and by Sunday afternoon they'd be large, glowing, just golden lions. Um, because not only are they realizing how much more powerful they are, but we're also showing them in what that size is a factor in a physical confrontation, but it's not the only factor. So we can teach 80-pound women how to take out 200, 250-pound men. If you know what to do, it's simple. It's just knowing how to do it, and then practicing it, and then doing it in real time with full force, so that it becomes part of your bones. And it's not just, well, somebody showed me how to do it, and now I know how to do it. It's you know how to do it. Once you've had the experience, you know. And then there's also, with that particular thing, and I'll get around to the tarot in just a second. I'm working my way to it. With that self-defense, there's a way of teaching it such that it reprograms the neurobiology. It's not just that people come in and they've had trauma. It's that they come in and the trauma has physically shaped their brains in a certain way. We have techniques for helping them reshape it in new ways, more powerful ways, more empowering ways. Okay, and so where that fits in is that I loved it. I loved it. I mean, I couldn't believe people would pay me to, do that for a living, where I get to not only maintain my own fitness and my own physical sharpness, my own self-defense skills, but I also get to deepen my understanding by explaining it, and I get to witness people waking up to how powerful they really are. That's the biggest high. Um, but then I lost it because I took too many concussions, and my brain could not handle any more hits. Too big a risk. So what do you do now? If this is what I've done for 20 years. What do I And so I've had this sideline of reading tarot cards for people. It started off, just as a person. Um, a little bit at a time, people started coming to me more and more and more, and I got very good at doing the standard readings, where I have this problem in my love life. What's going to happen? How's it going to work out? Or I've got this career thing. How's it going to work out? Where I'm just looking into the future and telling people what I see, and there you go. Thank you very much. That'll be $50. But that's not quite satisfying, because people just, if you're just saying what's going to happen, that's not really, you don't get that same rush, that same awesomeness of watching people come alive and claim their own power. So after my last concussion, I was going, what the hell am I going to do? So somebody asked me, well, can you teach people how to read cards? And I said, yeah, well, maybe. I don't know, maybe. So I thought about it, and then I did it, and I put it out there, and some people, I couldn't believe it. Some people actually, said, yeah, I'll do it. I said, I've never done it this way before. I've taught friends how to read, sitting at the kitchen table late into the night, drinking beer and wine and having fun. But teaching online in a systematic way, I don't know. I'll do it. But some people handed over some money, so I was like, well, now I got to do it. And I tell you what, it was the biggest rush. It was like everything that I used to get from martial arts and fitness and self-defense, it's right there. Helping people realize that the tarot cards don't have to be deep and mystical. They can be, but it's kind of like learning a language. How fluent do you really need to be in order to get something out of it? If you're just going to Barcelona on vacation, you don't really need to be able to read classic literature in Spanish. You just need to know where the bathroom is, how to get some food, how to get around, and where's the pub or cantina, whatever it is they have in Spain. So the first level of training that I taught was just kind of like tourist level. Here's enough to get around. Here's the basics, and with this much information, you can answer about 95% of any question you might ever have, or any questions you might ever have, and get really meaningful answers. And not just how to read the cards to get answers, but how to structure a question so that it's not just, well, here's what's likely to happen. Okay, now what do I do? Just twiddle my thumbs and wait for it to happen? No, there's a certain approach that I use where it's, here's what's likely to happen. Here's what you can do to make it better. Here's what you could do to avoid it. Here's what you can do to, change your outcome. So it's not just here's what's likely to happen. Here's what you can do to change your future. There's that extra missing piece that I don't see a lot of readers doing. And I taught that to my first group.
Well, it's good that you're not only helping other people, but also that you enjoy it as well.
Oh yeah, There's nothing like just it sounds cliche, but a life of service is really just about the best thing. Helping people realize, wake up to understand how much more powerful they are, because the world, at least in my experience, the world at large tends to beat people down. And it's so easy to let everything get to you and wear you down and wear you down and wear you down. So when somebody comes along and says, you're not actually as, stupid as you think you are. You're actually quite smart, quite intelligent, and I can prove it. I can show you. And then when you do that, and people go, whoa, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way. Or you're in better shape than you think you are. You're much more, you're not as helpless as you thought you were. You don't have to be scared. You are more intuitive. You're more whatever. It's just the coolest. I would do this for free, but that people are willing to pay me, it's like, okay,
Extra
let's go.
bonus.
I'll pay my bills and have a good time. I'm in. Sign me up.
Sign me up, Scotty. But have you ever encountered any hurdles while teaching people how to read tarot cards?
The only hurdles that I've encountered, just run-of-the-mill obstacles. The very first time I taught an online class, the software I want to use didn't work. It wasn't working. So I had to punt. Now, fortunately, I had a backup plan, and so what I did was instead of meeting, what I think we were using either GoToMeeting or Zoom or one of those webinar things, and it wasn't working. Sorry, no, it wasn't GoToMeeting, and it wasn't Zoom. It was a knockoff competitor. It was this, third party thing that was supposed to be free and do all this great stuff, and it didn't do squat. It crashed my computer. Okay, I had a backup plan. So what I did was I went and I rebooted and I just broadcast through Facebook Live for 2 hours.
Well, that's
So
one way to improvise.
technical challenge there. I also taught the class on Friday nights. I learned, so that was a small hurdle because I thought that'd be convenient. Hey, it's Friday night, let's read tarot. No, Friday night everybody's exhausted, or they're going out on the town, or there's always something coming up, and so I'm like, okay, I won't be doing Friday nights again. No. We'll do Tuesday mornings or Wednesday nights or something, but anything but Friday nights.
Hey, lesson learned though, right?
Absolutely. And then the only other obstacle was, okay, well, how do you take all this knowledge and break it down into organized chunks? Because you want, if you've got and some skill, do you cook?
Me personally, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if you had to teach somebody how to cook, where do you start? If you've been doing this thing for years and you've got so much skill that you don't even think about certain things anymore, how do you break it down into a systematic step-by-step process so that somebody can follow along as quickly and efficiently as possible? So I had that challenge, which I'm able to overcome, and the next time I teach a course, next time I teach it again, it'll be even better. But there was that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So do you just teach? Uh, I guess what I'm trying to ask is there only one way that you read tarot cards, or is there different ways?
No, there are lots and lots of ways of reading tarot cards. Any standard tarot deck, a standard tarot deck would have 78 cards in it. And you can have it designed by this person, that person. It can have vampires on it. It can have fairies. It can have the Rider-Waite variation. There's all kinds, but as long as it's got the same 78 cards, then all the cards across any deck would have basically the same meaning. There is a pattern underneath it. And what I do is I start with something you already know. Well, sorry about that. Somebody decided to call me on a Saturday afternoon. Well, whoever it was, they can wait. Tarot is just really, the cards just describe a cycle, the cycle of life, from beginning to end and round and round. Okay, and human cycle, the cycle of a human life is pretty much eternal. Every time you go around the cycle, it's a little bit different. Your adventure around the cycle may be a little bit different than mine, maybe a little different than somebody else's, but it's basically the same. Well, Joseph Campbell already described the hero's journey, and that became the basis of modern movie structure. Ever since George Lucas studied Joseph Campbell's work and wrote and gave us Star Wars, most Hollywood movies are based on that same mythic structure. Well, tarot is a cycle and a structure. Hero's journey is a cycle and a structure. So my idea was, look, they're not exactly the same, but they're close enough. They're close enough to get you started. So the idea behind the way I teach is, if you can watch a movie, you can read tarot cards. We start with something and match it up with this new thing, and start making analogies and metaphors and comparisons so that you can see, I see how this, okay, see how the cards fit together, how they relate to each other, and then use that as a basic structure for understanding how to read any tarot card.
That makes sense. A lot better than a lot of other descriptions of it.
Yeah, when I learned, um, it was card by card. Here's what this card means. Here's what this card means. Here's what this card means. And you had to learn. It's like going into some unknown, mysterious forest and learning every individual tree one at a time. And I'm like, wait a minute, why don't we just, why don't we take an airplane ride over the forest first? Let's look at the whole forest, how it rolls, how it moves, how it relates to the land, then zoom down to the trees. And so that's the approach that I use. And I was able to teach it, at least, I taught some of the people who went through the class already, they're readers already. They already read the cards, and they got a lot out of it because I approach it differently than they learned. Just, I'm teaching it differently than I learned, taught it differently than they learned, so they were able to see some new things. I also had some people come through who were absolute beginners. They're curious, but hadn't studied before, didn't know where to start. So I was able to get those people up to a nice basic mastery level. They're not quite ready to hang out a shingle and invite people to come in and have their fortunes read, but they're competent enough. They know what to do. They can start practicing and getting some answers for themselves, their friends, their family. I also teach people how to record their work so that if they're making a prediction, if they're doing a reading about some circumstance, they have a record of it, and then they can look back in 3 months or 6 months and see how it did or did not play out. Because that feedback, where was I right, where was I wrong, I misinterpreted that. That feedback is a phenomenal way of learning and enhancing your skill.
I don't doubt it in the least. Out of curiosity, what social media can people find you on?
I am not as much on social media as I used to be, but I am still active on Twitter and Facebook. Just look for Varsity Witch. I do have a website, varsitywitch.com. The website is not fantastic. It's kind of this Frankenstein's monster of ideas that I cobbled together over the years, following this guru's advice and that guru's advice. However, I am pleased to say that I did hire a mentor at last, somebody with a business mind who's been there, done it, and working with her to get everything sharpened up and much more professional looking.
That's
so
good.
Facebook would be the best place. Facebook.com/varsitywitch.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I'm very approachable. And you were telling me earlier that I look like Ryan Reynolds, so people should click over just to see for themselves. Do I look like Ryan Reynolds?
That is the question and homework for y'all to do. Does he look like Ryan Reynolds? And anyways, please click on the like button, and the links will be down in the description below. See y'all next time, alright? Bye.